Welcome everyone again to another Univirtual experience in partnership with the Virtual World Society and Educators in VR. What a lovely place to be today, Sunday. In my neck of the woods, it's early evening and I'm feeling very relaxed already, so I'm looking forward to this. But before we get started with this event with Solas VR, Reconnecting with Nature's Wisdom, I just want to take a moment to thank our sponsors and supporters and communities who make this possible. So thank you to HP, our Infinity sponsor. Thank you to Engage VR platform or Engage platform for supporting so many events, and Chris in particular. Thank you to Avantis Education. Our stellar sponsors are Grove XR, the VR lady, Dr. Angelina Dayton, Donna McTaggart of Let's Meet in VR, who's also our event manager and director for this whole conference and Educators in VR in general. Frame VR, LearnBright, and the team of videographers, and especially Tony Cube Studios for capturing so many of our events for posterity that will be end up on our YouTube channel. And with that, I want to hand over to, I think Chris has one or two things to say, and then we'll get started.
Great. Just a couple of housekeeping items. First off is you might notice that everybody is muted here except for the hosts. The way we are going to have a bit of a socialization at the end of this event. The way you do that very easily to mute and unmute your mic is pull the back hand of your left hand up towards your face. Take your right hand, bring it close to that microphone icon there, and there's a little green ball that will appear. If you tap that green ball onto the microphone, it will mute and unmute yourself very easily. So we recommend staying unmuted or muted unless you need to talk. Once we get into the final scene, we'll turn on 3D audio, which makes it much better as well. The other thing too is we are going to be, as you can see, hopefully this is a 4K theme. We're going to be running 4K videos, which means you're going to need a pretty strong bandwidth. Global recommendations for a 4K video being streamed is 25 megabytes per second. So heads up on that. If you don't quite have that, you might get a little slow play, a little bit of stutter. And in some cases, depending on your region, that might affect things as well. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And one last thing, if you're not used to moving around in Engage, hold that teleport button down on your right-hand side to move around. Hold it, aim where you want to jump to, and release it, and you'll jump to that spot. So it looks like everybody pretty much has that figured out. So we'll go ahead and now turn this over to Camille and Stephen. And Stephen, we are getting quite a bit of loud breathing on your side, so just be aware of that on your end. Maybe mute and unmute as well when it's appropriate. All right, turning things over to Camille and Stephen. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris and Daniel. And thank you all so much for coming. And welcome to Ireland and this stunning valley. We're going to bring you on a journey today through time and space and Ireland and the seasons and the medicine wheel. I'm going to join you again shortly for a breathing exercise, but I'm going to hand over to Stephen now a bit more about what this journey will involve. Thank you.
Camille, thank you so much. Guys, boys and girls, as we say here, thank you so much for coming. It's a real privilege and a real honor to host this. And again, thanks to Chris and Daniel for the invitation. We're all really excited and honored to share this space with you. What we're going to do today is do a journey around the medicine wheel. And for those of you who don't know, the medicine wheel is a big part of indigenous wisdom, whether it's North, South America, the Druids in the British Isles, the Aboriginals in Australia. So many different places in the world celebrate the medicine wheel or the wheel of life. So we start in the north and we go to the east, the south, and the west, and we pick up on the different learnings and the different teachings in those directions. And each direction has a certain time to it. Each direction has a totem animal, and each direction has an element to it. So the north, for instance, is the time of nighttime. It's the time of winter, and it's the time of death. The east is a time of dawn, it's a time of spring, and it's a time of birth. So you're seeing already that the medicine wheel is a daily cycle, a yearly cycle, and a lifetime cycle. The south is noontime, it's summertime and adulthood. And the west is the time of evening, autumn, old age, reflection. So We'll go into those in a little bit more detail as we go to those spaces, but I'd just like to start by saying that this is an experiential session. And as I was saying earlier, to Steve, one of the things here is myself and Camille in some ways want to get out of the way because we want you just to enjoy nature. And in terms of learning and wisdom, we all know what we need to know. You won't learn anything from myself and Camille. We come here to learn from ourselves. We all know what we need to know. And the invitation is to not let myself or Camille get in the way of your own learning. So what we're trying to do is connect everybody to themselves through the medium of VR and through the medium, most importantly, of nature and of the energies in the different directions. And at the end, we'll have a time and an opportunity just to share our experiences if you feel, drawn to do that, and maybe to ask some questions about what you've learned or not learned. And certainly, if we want to go through some of the technical VR type questions, we can do that as well with Chris and the team. So first we'll go to one of our beautiful nature scenes, and we'll ask Camille just to do a guided meditation just to get us into the space, as it were, and into this session. And we'll do that then as soon as you're ready, Camille. Will.
Great. Here we go. Welcome to this stunning river and forest vista, which is at a sacred site in Ireland called Glendalough. It's a very sacred ancient place, and many of the scenes we're going to bring you through today are from Glendalough. So I invite you now to look at the trees, to look at the river, and to connect. We are looking to connect to ourselves, to nature, and indeed to each other. I'm going to bring you through a breathing exercise because, as you may know, concentrating on your breath brings you into the present moment, the only true reality that exists, here, now. The exercise is called relaxing breath, and it's also known as 4-7-8 breathing. It has its roots in yoga's pranayama, which is all about helping people learn how to control their breath. So let's begin by getting settled into this nature scene, looking all around you, taking in the trees, the river, the beautiful sunshine. Turn your dial to receive and let nature in. We're going to focus on inhaling through our nose and exhaling out through our mouth. Throughout the exercise, I invite you to press the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth. We'll work with the count of 4, 7, 8. Breathing in for a count of 4, holding it for a count of 7, and then slowly exhaling for a count of 8. I'm going to guide you through 10 iterations of this breathing technique, which will take about 3 minutes. Let's begin together by pressing the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Slightly open your mouth and exhale. Let it all out. In fact, give a good old loud sigh if you can. No one can hear you. Now gently close your mouth and quietly inhale through your nose for a count of 4. 2, 3, 4. Then hold for 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's inhale again for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, inhale 2, 3, 4. Hold 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale through our mouth. 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 more times. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And last one. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And exhale. Let out a good loud sigh. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let go of the exercise and return to your normal breath. Breathing in and out through your nose. Take a moment to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Feel the aliveness and hopefully the calmness in your body. Allow yourself just to feel that sensation that's been created by that space and breath within your body. You are now well prepared to embrace our journey around the medicine wheel, where Stephen will be your guide.
That is really so unfair. I just want to stay here. Thank you, Camille. Thank you so much for that. That was lovely. That was beautiful. So what we'll do now is let's go to the north. Let's go to the north direction. Let's feel that space. So this is darkness. And some of you may know already, but for the Celts and many other indigenous people, the day started the evening before, if you like. So in Ireland now, it's coming up past 6 o'clock. It'll get dark around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And that's the start of Monday. So it's twilight, the evening before, if you like, starts the day. And similarly, the year for the Celts started on the 1st of November in Samhain. It starts in winter. And so our life starts in the womb, in the darkness. And sometimes we think it starts at spring, but for the indigenous people, it started in the darkness. And what we reflect on here is that, in this darkness, or if we were under the ground, we might just see it as dark and damp. But actually we look around and we see all the light and the stars. We imagine the power of all those stars, some of them which are a magnitude bigger than our own sun. And we don't see the impact, we don't feel the warmth or get the light from those stars for millions, if not billions of years. And so it is in the north, whether in this space or deep under the ground. It may look silent and dark as if nothing is happening, but so much is happening. And under the ground in winter, nutrients are, leaves and trees and animals are all been broken down and creating the nutrients for the new growth that will come alive in the spring. So what's happening here is the co-creation of what will manifest tomorrow, next week, next year, and for those of us who subscribe to it, next lifetime. But what we're doing here is seeding what will come into our lives the next hour, the next day, the next week. So the invitation here is to understand what it is we will hold on to, where we want to focus our energy. What do we want to give more of and do more of? What spark do we want to create now that will reach us as the spark of the stars, the light of the stars will reach us in millions or billions of years' time? But in this time scale, it's shorter. What do we want to seed now that will come into our lives tomorrow? So the animals here are often the totem animals are in North America, typically buffalo, and South America, hummingbird. They're the great migrators. These animals who take the great step into the unknown. And they have the courage to take that step and to keep going. So again, the invitation is to create with the courage and the wisdom and the belief of knowing that that will manifest in the daytime and in the springtime. And it's important that we focus on the right seeds. You probably all know the story of the Native American grandfather who sits down with his grandson and says, "Son, inside me I have two wolves. And they're always fighting a battle to see who will grow bigger. And one wolf is a wolf who holds anger and resentment and fear, and the other compassion, understanding, and love." And the grandson says, "But grandfather, which wolf will grow bigger?" And he replies, "The one I feed, my son, the one I feed." So here is the feeding for those things. So we can decide to feed anger, fear, resentment here, or love, or compassion. Which of these wolves, look, they've come to join us. Which of these wolves do we want to see grow bigger? And in the north, in the silence, in the dream time, we plant the seeds and we feed the seed. So the invitation now is what we'll do, and we'll do this as we go into every direction, is just to ask you to take a moment or two, we might give it a minute, just to see what in my life at this moment in time do I want to put more energy into as they disappear away. What seed do I want to focus on? Is there anger in my life, or resentment, or fear, or jealousy that I want to feed? Or in this beautiful space of calm and darkness, is there love, understanding, compassion that I want to feed, that I want to give energy to? So I just invite, maybe for the next minute or so, just to look around and find the seed that you want to pour energy into over the next day, week, month, whatever your time scale is. And we'll allow you just a minute just to do that. And I'll let you know when we're going to move on. So just take your time, look around, find the seed that you want to hold in the palm of your hands and that you want to grow. What star do you want to nourish? And so as we start to finish that reflection for ourselves on which seed we want to grow, we'll move in a minute and keep moving to the east. And in a couple of moments, we'll take ourselves there and be prepared for the transformation that we see there as we set foot into the east, the time of dawn, the time of spring and the time of birth. Now there's a contrast. There's a difference. And in the East, we see color, we see light, we see the transformation from the darkness into light. And in the East, it's the becoming of who we are. It's the joy and beauty. There she goes, the butterfly. It's the joy and beauty of the plants, the movement of the trees, the birds, the butterflies, the bees. It's the becoming. And in the East, we have transformation, we've joy, we've hope, we've beauty. We've moved on from uncertainty and possibility, transcended into light, into fulfillment. It's the beginning and the becoming of who we are. In all our beauty, in all our power. We've turned the darkness into light and the cold into warm, the potential into realization. And this is the light that we get at dawn. It's the beauty and the colors of springtime and the hope that we feel when we experience a new birth. The East is freeing and transcending. And it's the spark that is so necessary for life. The totem animal in the East is normally, you know, the eagle, or in South America, the condor. And these are the birds that fly high above the earth. And we often say they fly wingtip to wingtip with great spirit. So but they're, you know, they're of the earth, but not trapped in the earth. They commune with the spirit world, but they're not in the spirit world. They can see the details of the mouse from 8, 9, 10 miles away. But they can also see the great landscape of the journey that's been undertaken by people on the earth. So they have that great ability to see the detail, to see the landscape, to see the wood and the trees, and to decide which perspective we need to employ, which perspective will serve us better, the detail or the big picture. So the East is a time for insight and objectivity, for perspective. I suppose, if you like, in the East, we are both the actor and the audience, and it allows us to do both. And the element here is the element of fire. It's the East that transforms the timber and the logs, the heavy logs, into light and heat. The fire that reminds us that no energy stays still. It's constantly transforming. It's the fire that brings us warmth and beauty. It's the phoenix rising from the flames. But if we get too attached to it and too close to it, it's a fire that can lead to destruction and anger. We can get burnt by it, consumed by it. So the transformation we need, but we don't need to stay here, does not serve us, as with all the medicine wheel, to get stuck in any one place. So again, I'd invite you just to take a few moments and just think of what you may need to transform in your life. If you need to transform anything, think of where you are on the journey and where it may be leading you. Step out of our life for a moment and look where it is. Am I pursuing a course of action I decided on a week ago or 10 years ago that may serve me well or may not? Is it taking me down a ravine, a cul-de-sac, or am I making progress? And that's whether it's a career, a business, a relationship, an emotional state, a thought. So we just take a moment just to think about, where am I? If I was looking at the story of my life, where am I? And whose life am I living? The one that serves me now, or one that I thought would serve me 5, 10, 20 years ago? And what might I need to transform and rebirth? And we just take a moment to think of these things in the East. And we just take a moment now to take our last reflections in the East and to get ready to move, because fire, that transformation is powerful. But we don't want to stay there. Fire allows us to transform. But there's also a time to ground ourselves. And we invite you now to come with us to the south of the medicine wheel, to the element of earth. And here we are in Glenlock, a cathedral that there's been worship in this site for 1100 years maybe. The cathedral itself is hundreds of years old. And this is a time in the south. The south is adulthood, noontime. It's the time between sowing and reaping the harvest. So it's a time of senses. It's a tactile experience of the south. It's not the time of potential in the north or transformation. It's the time of reality and experience. The totem animal in the south is the snake, Sashamama. She who crawls belly to belly on the earth. She uses her senses to feel the rhythm of the environment, to understand the changes in temperature, wind, in any activity that may be going on. So it's not the idea of life, it's experiencing life. It's what the Native Americans refer to as walking the red road. It's where we get our hands dirty. Life is getting our hands dirty. It's not watching or observing, it's getting stuck in, it's feeling it. It's the, and a great gift of humanity is our ability to feel pain and joy and anything and everything in between. And this is what we experience in the South. It's about being grounded, about being solid. And this is where we remember and connect with all the physicality around us. So in these stones, the stone people were there at the creation of the earth. They have the knowledge and the wisdom that goes back millennia. They've seen the tribes come and go. They've seen the peoples come and go, and they retain in them the hurt and the pain and the wisdom. And the tree people, the one-legged that we see outside the cathedral, they too stretch back years and hold the wisdom of our ancestors. And we can connect in the South with them, with their wisdom. And we recognize here that we share the earth with all these other creatures. And the harsh and the sad reality is, if the bees and the bears and the wolves disappeared, so much of life would go with it. If we disappeared, the earth would be just fine. Yeah. So this is a time for connecting with those animals that we look to, and we connect with bear, wolf, stag, fox. Bear with all our power and strength, and the stag and the doe with their grace and their beauty. and the fox, creative and some would say cunning, and the much, much maligned wolf, that great animal that protects the young and the old and teaches us of society, of kinship and of love. There is a reminder here too that we can be too solid. We can be too rigid. Get stuck in what we're doing and not take time to reflect or transform. As I said, the totem animal here is snake, and it's snake because she reminds us to shed our skin. To shed our skin and renew constantly. You know, we sometimes teach people that Darwin talked about the survival of the fittest. Darwin didn't. Darwin talked about the survival of the most adaptable. And we need to think, are we adapting? Are we shedding the skin of what no longer serves us? So we'll take a moment maybe just to spend some time with the stones, maybe the trees, maybe spend some time with these animals and ask which of their energies are we reflecting? Are we walking through life, our relationships, our offices with power or with grace, with creativity, with fierce devotion to our friends and our family? What lessons can we learn from these beautiful animals? Or from, as I say, the stones? What do they whisper in our ears? So maybe just take a moment and commune with what's around us and experience it. And we'll invite you to do that before we move to the west. Now, it was such a privilege for those animals to join us. Such a privilege and such a joy. And now we move to the west. And a change. And what we see in the west is that the west is really a time of reflection. Whether the evening or the autumn or older age in our life. It's a time where we need to look compassionately, and I use that word advisedly, compassionately look at where we are and what we have done. The West is about coming to terms with who we are. The totem animal here is often jaguar, she who can focus single-mindedly on her prey, letting no other distractions come in as she hunts. But she hunts with no anger. She hunts with compassion. She does what she needs to do, and she's at one with that. It's a time for courage and certainty, as exemplified and personified by Jaguar, where she can reconcile her emotions. She doesn't allow the emotions to control the hunt, but she uses the emotions to help the hunt. And so it is with us. We need to consider here in the West, first the contrast between the stone, the solidity of these big rocks, and the movement of the water. And water manifests in many ways. The waterfall itself almost out of control, or the deep pools of water, still water, or the rain that's starting to fall on us. Rain that often brings warmth, comfort. And so it is with our emotions. This is a time to understand, are our emotions out of control and controlling us? Or are our emotions still and deep, the reservoir that we can call on when we need it? Are our emotions like the rain, soft and gentle, bringing nutrients and moisture to plants or to people that need it? Are our emotions supportive or destructive? This is what the West invites us to do. And the thing about water is water always finds a way. Our emotions always find a way. They ebb and they flow and they change shape, just as water changes from the water we see here, and it can change to ice and it can change to steam. So our emotions often change, and it's hard to understand them maybe, or to hold them in our hands. The thing about water is that we know a couple of things about it. We know lots about water, but today we just mentioned two things. If we don't allow water to move, if we don't feed it, if we don't let it ebb and flow, one of two things happens. The water stagnates and it gathers in a pond. And if it does that, we've all seen it. We've all seen it. Pond that has no movement in it, no water coming in or coming out, and it stagnates, and ultimately it suffocates everything within it. It becomes toxic. Or the water sometimes is like water that has pressure building up. The water builds up behind it where we've dammed it, put barriers up, or it's a boiling pot with a lid on it. It's a pressure cooker. And if we don't allow it to release its energy, it'll explode. The dam will break, taking the valley and the villagers and the villages with it. But the pot over boils. So again, in the West, we think about, are we in right relationship, as they say, with our emotions? Or are some of them, the anger we've held on to for 5, 10, 50 years, is it stagnating and toxic? Or the feelings that we think we've buried so deeply, but every so often they burst to the surface in anger and rage and resentment. Water reminds us our emotions just need to be heard and recognized and valued. And with the courage of Jaguar, and with the courage and the discernment of old age, and maybe just the freedom of old age and experience, where you don't get too caught up on what other people are thinking about us and what's on Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram or whatever it might be. But it's just about what serves us well. We have a moment here just to think about, I suppose the West gives us hindsight, gives us hindsight now. So we just have that opportunity to sit, think about which of our emotions are we seeing here? Ones that are raging or that are still, ones that fall gently and have a nice rhythm to them. Let's just sit for a moment and think about our emotions and how they're represented in the different type of water we see here. And in a few moments I'll call you back and invite you back to the north again. Take some time just to think about our emotions. And now I'll invite you to say goodbye to the West. Thank Jaguar, to thank this beautiful place for holding us here. And we'll take a step now, and we'll revisit the North. And here we are, back where we started, back full circle. And we get here to do something that I don't know if it's unique to the human condition, but it's certainly a great gift. We get here to come back and reflect on our journey. We'll spend a little bit of time here, and then we'll go to a beautiful spot at Avebury and maybe have a little sharing and a chat about how this journey around the medicine wheel went for us. But here we realize that we get another chance. We always get another chance. Whether you believe it's reincarnation or it's just the next day, we get a chance to learn our lessons and do something differently, or decide to do it the same. So we've that opportunity to co-create the life we want for ourselves, having learned the lessons of the life we have lived for ourselves. So we know we've the ability to transcend in the East, to experience all that can be experienced in the South and reflect in the West. And in the North, we come back and decide, would we do it differently next time around? The next day, the next year, the next project, the next lifetime, if that's your belief. So the great beauty and power of that is we always get to decide, what seeds do we want to plant now? We get to experience the experiences, but not get trapped in them. We get to decide what seeds we want to put our energy into. And we know that what we put our energy into now will manifest later. So when we look at the pandemic that we were all in through, and some of us are still going through, and we say we want to get back to the new normal, or however we describe it, what we'll experience in 3, 6, 12 months' time is the manifestation of how we are now. So if we went into the pandemic and through it angry and resentment and judgmental about people who wore a mask or didn't wear a mask or would have the vaccine or wouldn't have the vaccine, we will create a world that is angry and judgmental. If we went into it understanding people's perspectives and point of views, we'll create a world that is understanding and compassionate. It's the energy of now that will carry into the being of tomorrow. So our last reflection is just to invite you to think, okay, I know what I did a few moments ago when I was here at the start of this journey, what I put my energy into. So now that we might look at the seeds again, think, okay, knowing what I know what I've reflected on, our experiences in the South, the transcendence, the beautiful garden in the East, reflections, the connection with our emotion in the West. Would I change that? And maybe not. There's no right or wrong answer here. I'm not telling you should change by any means. It's just an opportunity to say, okay, I'll renew that. I'll go back to that seed that I thought was important. And yeah, it is important. And I'll put my energy into it. Or maybe, now that I've been around the wheel, I might change it. And I might think, actually, it's something different. So our last exercise here really is just that invitation to just to revisit in this space of creation and these seeds and think, what do I want to put into these seeds that I see in front of me? What do I want that to come back with in the East? What do I want that to become? What will I plant in here? Ambition, money, love, relationships, anger, fear, compassion, understanding. What plants am I planting now? They may well be the ones we did a few moments ago when we were here before, or they may be new ones. I just invite you to take a moment just to plant your seeds now and here. And now I'd invite you to come with us where we'll go to Avery and maybe share some experiences there. Maybe a
Here we
little. Now here we are. So, I think just
Gather
before we unmute everybody, we might actually gather over at the. We might
Yeah.
teleport over to the
trees, the
to
forest
the trees
this way.
over here. Yeah.
Follow us.
And down by this brook.
So beautiful.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. So while we're gathering, sorry, I'm gone too far. So while we're gathering, actually, there's just while we're all getting settled. First of all, you know, as we do while we're here, we just take a moment to thank the guides that were there with us: wolf and fox and stag and bear, snake. To thank the water, to thank the earth, the fire, the air, to thank, as we're here, Mother Earth, the Father Sky, who held us on this journey. And if you look, by the way, at the logo that we have, the SolasVR logo, which might be around here somewhere you may have seen, that's actually a representation of Mother Earth and Father Sky holding us. And we thank them for their strength to support and hold us in that journey. And now I think we'll unmute everybody, and if anybody has any questions or reflections or observations, I'd be fascinated and I'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you've had enough of listening to me, so.
Not nearly.
Oh, you're very kind.
Yeah, feel free to unmute if anybody does have a question or a comment.
Yeah. How was your journey? Please tell us.
Beautiful. I got goosebumps.
It was
Camille and
very
Steve,
relaxing.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Gratitude. Gratitude.
I was,
Feel
was,
so
was-
relaxed.
Yeah.
Really cool. It's, yeah, I really saw and felt people getting into a lot of that. And when you acknowledge what's going on, you relax because you let that energy go. That's what's happening there. Yeah. Did anybody find it, like, you know, too weird, or you
Yeah,
know?
on the weird scale.
Not at all.
Yeah, how close to 10 did we get? Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
for me,
Oh,
the nature, being grounded in nature on that journey, is really.
Yeah, and I was saying, you know, it is hard to get the balance, because I really wanted to get out of the way, you know, and not interfere with nature. At the same time, I'm conscious that I'm guiding people who may not have had this kind of experience before. So I hope I got that balance right. But yeah, nature is the key to all this. She's the one who'll hold us and help us for sure.
Which is why we gave people space in each of the environments to just have time and silence.
Yeah.
So we're here that we experience silence these days, especially in
Yeah.
Wewill.
Yeah.
Your voices were so beautiful guiding, and I just wanted to share that I was supposed to be in Ireland during COVID to celebrate John O'Donoghue, and
Oh goodness.
I've grown up with John O'Donoghue being a touchstone, and usually I'm
Yeah.
in Killarney for about 2 months a year, and doing just having the setting in Ireland. I felt John O'Donoghue with us. moving through the wheel and giving people a chance to speak what's in their soul that needs to have a voice. So thank you.
Wow.
No, thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that. John O'Donoghue talks a lot about the Anam Cara,
Mhm.
the friend of the soul, and connecting with that and with others who are our Anam Cara, our soul friends. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really appreciate you being here. That's super. Thank you.
And connecting with
Likewise.
the invisible world.
Yeah.
It's funny, as we were coming out of the medicine wheel, I was like, oh, I wish I had put a John O'Donoghue poem into my notes. 'Cause I would
Yeah.
read it out. You
He's
probably know a
there.
few
He's
lines,
there.
but he's totally
Yeah,
here. So,
yeah.
yeah, at your next event, we'd love to bring some of John
Oh,
O'Donoghue's
yeah.
poetry into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
This was
for sure.
beautiful. The soulful poetry. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one called Bannacht, which talks about when you step outside your door in the morning, let the invisible world connect with you and bring it with you everywhere you go, that aliveness and that connection to the invisible
Yeah.
world. And feel it, because you can if you tune in.
Yeah. And would anyone else like to share any experiences, good or bad, or any feedback?
I have a question. If I wanted to experience this again, is it available? Can I come in and bring other people, or can I experience it for myself again?
Yeah, I mean, we have the Solas VR app, which is available on Quest and Pico stores. Is on the App Lab and the Pico store. You can
Mhm.
talk to us directly, but certainly we're just finalizing, hopefully with Chris at Engage, about how to set that up as a facility here. Yeah. So
Fantastic.
that we can, we hope to have some news on that over the coming days, that either we will bring people in for a curated event like this,
Yes.
or that they'll be just able to drop in, on their own time and
Self-access.
self-access. Yeah. And we have some videos that, the kind of videos you saw, we have voiceovers and done by two Irish beautiful souls, one male, one female, who are shaman, and Karen is a druid as well. And they do some beautiful guided meditations, and yeah, we can, hopefully they'll be available
Wonderful.
shortly for people to experience. Yeah.
And each of the voiceovers is tailored specifically to the natural environment.
Yes.
So you're really being invited to connect with that particular environment.
I'm excited to have had this experience, because for me it's a perfect blend of technology and nature and wisdom. I don't know, there's something very right about using the technology in this way, because technology can be fast and it can be consuming or addictive, and yet here we've just had an experience where the technology has faded into the background and we're listening to a wonderful voice surrounded by moving experiences. For me, I want to see a lot more of this, a lot more. Maybe
and I
even
think
you're rooted in the Celtic tradition. I could imagine Tibetans using this. I could imagine native peoples of North America, South America, all bringing their cultures and sharing their cultures in a similar manner.
Well, yeah, and I mean, nature is universal, right? That and that's what we're doing, and we all inevitably have our own little slant on it.
Yes.
Whether it's North European or Southern European or North to South American or Tibetan or Australian, but nature is nature, and I think for me, yeah, if we can get this and these type of experiences into workplaces and into schools, it helps normalize the mental health conversation as well. And it helps. We know that the calmer you are, the better you learn.
Yes.
The better you interact with other people and all that. So we think it's a great antidote to the stresses and anxieties that we create, whether we're in the corporate world or education or what have you. It gives us a chance just to rebalance. You probably know better than I that the science, we stimulate our sympathetic nervous system all the time, the fight or flight. You know, every
Right.
presentation, every cup of coffee we make with too much milk, whatever, big or
Yeah.
small, and this helps us introduce the parasympathetic and just be calmer and more grounded. Sorry, Kenneth, do we have a question there?
Oh yeah, not a question, but I just wanted to thank you. This is a fantastic environment. I've been doing everything in Engage. I've been getting all over the put something new in it. I've been watching it, observing it. I listen to everything you guys say. This is spectacular, man. I can't even
Right.
tell you. Sometimes I'm bored. Whenever I'm bored, and I don't have nothing to do. I just throw this on and create something, and then all of a sudden my mood changes. Yeah, this is. I don't even think we have the capacity to explain how deep and how big this thing really is going to be if we look 15 years to now. Like that's why right now I want to be pioneer. I'm stepping in right now with you guys, brand new guys. So when we hit the history books, I'm going to be in there somewhere, buddy.
I love that. Yeah.
So great to see you,
Cool.
man.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, man.
Oh, no, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
Stephen, I had maybe a quick comment here. That's okay.
Sure.
So I wanted to just take a moment and thank the team from Educators in VR and Virtual World Society for putting on this month-long engagement. I think especially the events that I've been able to participate here on the Engage platform, Daniel, I want to recognize last year when we did the conference in February, we spent a lot of time talking about how and why. What I really love about the experiences this year is we're now starting to focus on, where and what. And today's experience, Camille and Stephen, I think is a perfect example of what we should be doing using virtual reality. And I just wanted to acknowledge the effort that you put into building this. And I want to thank everybody who's part of this community, because we're really building something special. So thank you all very much. It was a pleasure to be here today. And I just am always so awestruck whenever we do something that is really meaningful. And this was one of those things. And look who just showed up. Their friends from Burcastle are in the house.
It was a real privilege.
Chaos.
A little late, but we're here, right? Good to see y'all.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Thank you.
Appreciate that. I think something we've learned of this past year is that is to try and push a little bit lean into what VR can do. I mean, we have some great presentations and we have some great talks and great panels, and conversation is very powerful here, but experience is where it's at. Experience is where it's at, and this was an example for me of with not too much. I mean, it translated into an amazing experience, but it's very achievable to do this.
Yep.
And with a little thought, a little planning, bringing stuff together. It's we could listen to a presentation about the medicine wheel, or we could have an experience with the medicine wheel, and I know what I would prefer.
Well, the great thing about it is, they often call shamanism the path of direct experience. You know, and any event we run, we do the experiences and then we talk about it. You know, and that's the process rather than the intellectual understanding. And the great thing about VR, as you know better than I, you can keep going back and having the experience, and everybody is safe and everybody is comfortable, and we can go back and reflect and share again and again, and that's the great beauty of this space, that it's safe.
Indeed.
And it allows us to do that. So yeah.
Just a comment from me. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. I just was so thrilled when we did the walkthrough with you guys yesterday to see what you'd created. One, the 4K 360 nature videos are absolutely incredible. Absolutely. I love those to death. And two, I just love to see what people do creatively with the IFX, and the fact that you had the totem animals, the fact that you guys did all that. I was just so pleased to see what creators do with what we have available on the platform. So it was just really fun to walk into something new like that and to see what you've done. Amazing.
Right.
Well, thank you for such a powerful
Thank you.
platform. It gives us those possibilities. It's limitless. Yeah. Yeah. So
I have a couple of thoughts. I really enjoyed your kind of poetic kind of sensibility and the sort of tonality of your voices. I think that had a huge kind of almost empathic, inward kind of sensibility to it. So it kind of dropped me into kind of the interior of myself. So I really appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you.
One of the ideas that came to my mind was for orientation purposes, to almost have a plan, like a mandala, when, before we move to the next cardinal direction, that perhaps in that kind of back to that mandala medicine wheel plan. And we're gonna go.
We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
It was okay, yeah.
Feedback from somewhere else, I believe. But keep going.
And I thought some kind of a Mandela-like plan that had the cardinal directions, and that becomes a kind of touchstone. And then you could even have some of the little animals kind of representing symbolically, what north represents. And then we kind of port into the north, and the animals find us there. Might be a nice way to kind of create a narrative touchstone or a map, if you will.
Yeah.
Journey.
I love
that's
that
good.
idea,
Good
Michael.
feedback. Yeah, really Michael. Yeah.
I have a beautiful painting of the Celtic calendar, and I want to bring that image in now and do what you're describing, map it to a 3D pedestal.
Sorry, we're getting feedback from. There we go. We got him muted.
Better, yeah.
If everyone can keep themselves muted until they're actually speaking, that would be super helpful. Thanks.
Camille and Stephen, I have a question. So, see, this was a guided experience, and I think you have your videos available via the app. What are your plans for more different experiences, or how many experiences do you already have?
Yeah, well, I think at the moment we on the app itself we have 3 different windows, as we call them, and one window is the breathing techniques, and Camille did one of those. The other is weekly wisdoms, and we call them wisdoms now. That they're really fables, and they're stories taken from Irish and American and Chinese and Indian mythology. So they're life hacks, if you like. And then the other window is the meditation window, where I think we have at the moment about 12 different video locations, but with each of those you can choose 5 or 10 minutes. With each of those you can choose male or female. You can add music, drumming, etc. So you get to create your own experience. And then we have probably the same again in the can, as it were, ready to be rolled out, that we will do over time. And of course we're looking for different content, because I think we'll try and most if not all of the content is currently based in Ireland, but there's no reason why we wouldn't take content from around the world. And
I
we're
was
starting
gonna
to look
say,
at sourcing that now, so
if you can tell me how you capture it, I might send you some stuff from Snowdonia. There's some beautiful spots.
oh sure, yeah fabulous, yeah
Film, Daniel.
Yeah, there you go. We'll have a guest house ready.
Great.
Right. Well, I'm gonna just kind of formally end this session, but that doesn't mean we have to go. I just for the filming crew, I want to let them know that we're okay to close off. So with that, I want to thank you again, Stephen and Camille.
Thanks,
SolasVR. Thanks, Chris, for helping with this. And also thanks to everybody who attends, because the attendance kind of is feedback about what we're doing and what you're doing and the experience. So I really appreciate thank our sponsors again, the Virtual World Society, Educators in VR, and with that, I think we're good to close down the filming. Thank you, Tony. Tony Cube Studios, who's capturing this event. And like I said, feel free to stay. But yeah, also feel free to go now. And one other thing is